大家好，欢迎来到区块先生的 Crypto 节目。今天是我们的人物放大镜，而且我们今天很开心的可以邀请到 Zeeverse 的 founder Edgar 来到台湾，来到台北我们的办公室来做这一集的采访哦。那在这个采访里面呢，我们会讨论到很多 Zeeverse 的一些 alpha， 还有它未来的这个 roadmap。跟它的一些代币经济模型，还有一些更细的内容，包括呢它的一些角色的这个能力值的差异啊，还有现在玩家是如何升级的这么快，还有它未来的一些合作方，甚至于呢近期大家传言他们有一些不错的投资者这类型的讯息，我们都会在这一集里面讨论到。那其实近期呢，我们拍了很多空投相关的资讯，包括像是 arbitrum 啊、optimism 啊、aptos 啊，那这些呢其实都是 L1、L2 的空投。那其实呢，有很多其他的空投呢，会是出现在链游里面的。那 Zeeverse 呢，花了很多时间呢，跟各大的这个项目合作，其中包括像是 DeFi 的项目，跟像是在 Layer 2的项目，包括 Treasure DAO 跟 Arbitrum。所以今天我们很开心可以邀请到这个 Edgar 来到我们节目。All right, Edgar, could you give us a quick intro about yourself?
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for having me. So a bit background about us. We've been founded since 2014. We basically have been almost for a decade in the gaming industry. And back in 2020, we decided that it's time to move the whole team, every guy what we had into Web3 and basically build our dream game, which is Zeeverse. So the goal is to combine the best of the gaming with the best of the token design.
Got it. And then, we kind of briefly talk about this in Hong Kong. And just for a quick reference, Edgar and I were both participating in the Hong Kong Blockchain Week. And then one of his backer, who's also from Taiwan, invited him to come hang out in Taipei. That's why we're having this interview. And then And just coming back to the question though, we see a lot of, GameFi that came out in 2020, 2021, and 2022. A lot of them fail due to, bad token design and also due to FOMO. FOMO doesn't only happen to the retails, but it also happens to, projects, like they're FOMO into the market, which could potentially destroy a good IP. And we're starting to see more games that are coming out this year who kind of experience all these, up and down from 2021, 2022, and kind of learn from these GameFi project and their experience. So what could you tell us, that you see from these projects, and how are you applying those experience to designing Zeeverse?
I think right now the games are starting to operate more as a business than just as a simple project. And the moment you start to operate as a business, you start to think about things like how you retain people, how you engage them, and how you build a business around it. So that enables us to become, let's say, more reasonable on token design and essentially trying to combine the quality of the entertainment with the benefits of the blockchain. And I think that's what's happening right now. We see projects starting to move slightly away from just pure play-to-earn mechanics. Instead, they start to favor experience-based systems, and people are earning those tokens, playing games and enjoying them.
Got it. And then I think another interesting thing about Zeeverse is the collaboration. We're seeing, with different flag and kind of the arcade machine as one of the beginning of that trail of collaboration. And then we're seeing that with the Curve Island, where user can learn about different projects that's within the Curve ecosystem, where previously it was hard to imagine how to add the learning experience into GameFi, where it's hard to imagine GameFi collab with DeFi. And we're starting to see that a lot in SocialFi, where Crew 3, Galaxy, a lot of these milestone platform where you have to like or follow a Twitter page and so on to get like these social credits on platform. I think Binance, they have their own as well as the Hook protocol, which was launched on their launchpad. And I feel like when I were tracking, playing the Zeeverse and kind of going through the Curve Island, I feel like that's kind of similar to what the SocialFi is doing, right? Where I get to learn about protocol through this gaming experience. So I guess, can you tell us a little bit more on, collaboration? What's your view on collaboration and how that's going to shape, Zeeverse?
Yeah, totally. So, we don't see ourselves as just as a game. We also see ourselves as a platform. And it means that we amass a lot of traffic. In a Curve Finance event, what we did on day one, there were like 10,000 people coming in. So that's a lot of A-balls to utilize in a way. And when people are engaged, they're very keen to learn. So it feels just organic if we can use that to put in these collaborations and introduce those people with new projects, give them ability to learn about the DeFi space and blockchain space overall. Right now, we just 2 days ago, we finished the Treasure DAO event, which was in collaboration with 5 top projects. So it was like a really new experience what we created, where people had to travel through the Zeeverse to all of those games and essentially try to solve the mystery. And there were a bunch of people who did it, who successfully did it. It wasn't easy, but for sure it was engaging and some new unique experience. And I think for us, it's super important to push those boundaries even further. So with every event, what we create, we basically want to make these unforgettable experiences for all the community who comes in, for all the players who haven't heard about the Zeeverse at all. And when they come in, they go away amazed. So that's what happened with the Curve event. And that's actually what we are coming up on April 25 with our upcoming mint and live event.
Now we're on the upcoming mint topic. What's the mint about? And then what are some of the details?
So essentially the mint is a new chapter into Zeeverse. So there will be 2 items what can be minted. So one of them is soulbound token, which is called Soul Shard. And these will be lifetime membership passes for all the players who mint them in that period of time. So essentially, it will give you a bunch of different benefits, almost like a Twitter blue check mark. It will enable you to withdraw. It will enable you to unlock the full game in the future. And it will give you lifetime access to whatever drop we'll be doing out in the future. Another part, which is really interesting, is loot pods. So these loot pods will introduce new cosmetic system in the Zeeverse. And these items found in those loot boxes will change the way how the Zeeverse lobby looks, because every player will be able to fully customize their character. And in the meantime, it also will give them additional benefits in the battle. So it's directly plugging into the core game experience as well.
Okay. And so what's the limit though? Is it unlimited? But limited by duration.
Yeah, it's limited by duration. So the mint will go for 3 days. There also will be a leaderboard. So we have these rare boxes, so legendary loot pods, which will contain limited number of items. So those loot pods will be with a max quantity with total supply of 99. And players will compete by opening regular boxes in a leaderboard over 7 days to get a chance to get their hands on one of these. And they will hold one of the most precious items what we will ever have in Zeeverse. So in simple, the regular loot pods are unlimited. There are 3 different kinds. Each kind will contain different items just specific to that type. And then there is limited edition of legendary loot pods with total supply of 99.
Okay. And you mentioned, well, the soulbound token is the only way for an account to withdraw their V token. If they don't have it, they're not eligible for it. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of ways how we are protecting our economy. So the game is free to play. Anyone can pick up. Anyone can start earning V. Anyone can start upgrading their Zs. But there is currently no other way than soulbound token for us to prevent botting, prevent exploitation of different possibilities. So this is kind of like a gateway to full experience.
So I guess like a regular user that are playing it and starting to get good at it, and they want to become hardcore and invest more time, they will go through the route of purchasing one of these soulbound token. Because I'm guessing they found out about the game after the minting date, so they'll have to go on TradingView or OpenSea to buy.
The thing is, it's a soulbound token, so you cannot buy it. You can only mint it.
You can only mint it.
Yeah, you can only mint it. So this Genesis mint will be open for limited time. Afterwards, we will be doing these occasional seasonal mints.
Got it.
But those passes will be only valid for a few months. So this one is kind of lifetime pass, what we're giving out.
So what happens to if a person buys like 10, or can they only mint one?
You can only mint one.
You can only mint one.
But you can mint unlimited number of
different addresses.
That's also doable, but you can mint unlimited number of loot pods.
Okay. That gives me some thinking. I'm thinking like maybe I should mint like 10 on different addresses just to make sure. I guess people might start selling like private keys. But soulbound, theoretically, you cannot. Can you delegate? Is there delegate function or no?
No.
Okay, so it's bound on the address. Okay, and so this is an event base where so coming back to the hardcore player that decided to invest time and money, and he wants to start cashing out. What can he do?
So first of all, he has to have the soulbound token.
Okay.
So if that is minted, it opens up withdrawable option for them. So they're like free to participate in economy, and they can withdraw anytime from the game, but it has a lockup of 6 months. So this ensures like that while we are in alpha, we are kind of being really careful with all the potential exploits. So it gives some level of protection for economy if there are some bugs. So this will be slightly adjusted once we enter the beta, and most likely before the public release as well. So
got it. So there will be other events that they can also mint these soulbound token that are either lifetime or event based. That gives them the ability to withdraw. Yeah.
So what we think is we will be splitting whole Zeeverse development in seasons. Mm-hmm. So whenever we start a season, we want to introduce new content.
Yeah.
And one great way to introduce that is through almost like a battle pass experience. Mm-hmm. So you mint a soulbound token, you unlock all those rewards, what you can earn by just participating in that season. And in the meantime, you also get full access to the game. And when the next season starts, you have to mint again.
Got it. And that's actually quite interesting because I haven't really seen that in other GameFi project, especially the one I've seen in 2021, 2022. It seems like a lot of them are eager to give out rewards to kind of prove a point that you're gonna actually make money off from GameFi, and then but often that never sustain. I think none of them really sustain for a long duration. Yeah, which was also due to botting and scripts where people run scripts that will basically game the system and then destroy the economy. And token is everything of the game, right? Because once it's destroyed, it's impossible to build it up even with the storyline. So it's so important to kind of have that, I guess, kind of like a gateway where you can guard it and say, okay, this is an actual player. This is an actual player that spent time, invested time, and would like to, make some money from it, and then can withdraw on a set date. Okay. Coming to, I guess, the some of the stuff that the community been talking about is the level up, right? Where it's super hard to level up, and there are 70 levels right now, but then the experience doesn't exponentially increase. Like there's not a big difference between level 1 and like the difficulty. It's very easy. It's there. It's super hard to get from level 1 to level 60 on the dungeon, but then the experience you get from it is not that big of a differences. Like on level 60, I think you get 250 or 300 or 350 experience compares to level 1, which you get 120 or 130. What's the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so it actually falls down into idea that the level of your Z should represent how much time you have invested. So we intentionally made it really hard to level up. So the people, when they see somebody walking around having like level 100 Z NFT, they know that that guy spent like 1 year playing the game, like day to day. And when it comes to the secondary market, that level has some value because it contains the time of what people invested in it. So we intentionally made it really hard to level up because the level has to be measurement of how much effort was invested in that.
Can they sell these Z?
Yeah.
Other than Llama.
Yeah. So right now, the withdrawals are not enabled for that. But once we mint out the soulbound tokens, like any item you have in a game could be withdrawable.
I was surprised, when I tried to, I was buying, these eggs and masks on OpenSea, and I was surprised how fast they show up in the game. Can you talk a bit about kind of the engineering background and how you guys, designed the system?
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we're still in alpha is that we took around 1 year to build out the whole infrastructure for this. So from the previous games we have worked on, we have lots of experience how to handle systems with millions of players. So what we did, we built out the whole infrastructure on AWS. It's like scalable. It's located in 4 different continents. So latency is like super small. And because we have all that infrastructure right now set in a place, whenever we build something, it feels fast, easy, and mostly secure. So we're still working on a lot of security before we're releasing any feature. And that's the reason why we have all these like guardrails in every system, like withdrawal limits and things like that.
Got it. And yeah, like I said, the experience is quite smooth, because many other GameFi that I've tried, when I buy an NFT, it usually takes some time to show up in the game, and often I have to notify the team to say, hey, I sent this NFT, but it's not showing up.
Yeah, that's totally bad. I think right now the most of the people who are using mobile phone, they have already used to that everything they want they get instantly.
Yeah.
And we have to deliver them that. If we ever want to onboard like Web2 gamers into Web3, they have to have the same or even better experience than they used to have in Web2.
Okay. Yeah. And then Yeah, and I think that's so important. With kind of, GameFi is almost like the gateway where people learn about crypto, and you don't want them to feel like having this shit experience, right? And it's an amazing experience right now with Zeeverse.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the GameFi will be one of catalysts for mass adaptation, as it was same with App Store back in 2014. That was the time when people started to really realize that they can add like their credit cards to their account, and they did it only because they were playing games and they needed to buy some coins. So when you are like 1 month into some game, you're actually really, really willing to learn. And I think at that point, people will be willing to learn how to set up their wallets, how to set up their like self-custodial wallets. Basically, they will be keen to learn because once they're invested, they have like this motivation in place.
Got it. And recently, you guys launched the V token, which is the in-game token, and obviously, for people that play it, you have to use it quite often, like to level up. So, what are some other use cases here? Because we see a lot of images, even in the loading screen. You see like these new Z Monster or upgraded Z Monster that everyone wants kind of their own Charizard, their own max out Pokemon. They want that, and we see that in kind of everywhere in the Zeeverse storyline. And so when's that coming out?
So we're actually aiming for that release around the beta, which could be it will take some time, probably a few months, because we want to give early players advantage to move and progress further in the game before the game is like even in beta. But at the same time, we don't want to make mistakes which may lead to the things that we didn't intend, in the first place. So we're like really, really protective of the economy. But in the meantime, we give everybody access to start trying the game, progressing faster, and at the same time we are collecting and analyzing the data to make the game even better. So it's like really it's a process which takes a lot of iterations to get to a smooth experience. And speaking about the V, so we will also start like gradually introducing new utilities for that. The thing about the V, which makes it unique and different approach, it's a secondary token, but it's with a fixed supply. So the thing is, we cannot print more of those tokens out in the future. So that forced us into designing economy from completely different standpoint. It basically made us to think different. And I think we are right now in really, really good place where the economy is stable. We see deposits coming in. To this day, there is around 7.5 million tokens deposited already. And we see that players are actually spending those tokens in a game to progress and level up their Zs.
Yeah, and then, sometimes I feel like we should have, more places to spend. Like I'm constantly wanting to kind of gain some edge as well. For example, the energy, right? Where you have to wait an hour to get one energy. And I guess in a day, maximum is like 24, right? So, and that's like a very important factor of affecting how often you can level up, right? Is there a way where, or I guess more feature and places where people can spend V other than upgrading or level, not even upgrading, level up their Z right now?
Actually, right now, you need the V token to hatch egg. So if you get an egg from the dungeon, you will need
That's
to
so hard, though.
Yeah, they're pretty rare.
I probably got in one, and I was surprised. It's like they show up this big thing, right?
Yeah, there are a few guys who have found at least 10. Like they've been like grinding level 70 probably that's the highest level you can get in. So there are people who are really dedicated to that, but they're rare. They're rare for sure.
So those guys are like stepping guys, right? Where they try to get the best shoes, and then where they're gonna probably make the most. One.
Exactly, because the thing is, every time you hatch an egg, you may get the same kind of Z, but each of those Zs have unique attributes, and those attributes make them basically really, really high quality or the poor one. So obviously the high quality will be the really good material for training, and later if they want to like sell them, those will be in high demand.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this before the interview, where I've seen some crazy Z, like especially because I've been making these videos, right? So people approach me, and I saw one guy with 3 Z that are exactly the same. And then I forgot which one, but then their attack were crazy, because I know you have these items that can affect your attribute, right? And then the guy only have attack, like literally 4 items that increases attack, which essentially increase your attack by I think 20%, because each one is 5%.
Yeah, that's actually what we call a god roll. So he got like really, really lucky. And those are really rare. So basically they have this perfect build. But one thing is early May we'll introduce a system for those stats. So you will be able to upgrade them. You won't be able to change them, basically the type, but you will be able to spend like the V token to increase that stat. So that means those stats will be basically upgradable up to 10%.
Okay. But like these are items though, which affect how your Z look in the game as well. So I'm wondering, and I think it's almost like a no-brainer, right? Where these items could potentially be replaced.
We've been thinking about that. Like originally they were intended as attributes. So like, you have like this PFP and it has like different combinations. So the same for the 3D model. So it can be made up from different attributes and each has like their unique appearance. And what we did, we just added like in-game utility for those attributes. So we may come up with some way how you could like, I don't know, like sacrifice your Z and put like threw him in some pot and he comes out like with some changed stats. But that's like interesting mechanic, and like everything currently is on the table.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the biggest part that at least attracts me the most, because I'm a hardcore. I wouldn't call myself hardcore because there's a bunch of hardcore players, but I love playing Pokemon, for example, and I played the latest one, which is I don't know how to call it in English, but it's the Violet one, and I think the other one is like red or something. But anyway, that's the latest one, and what's cool about it is, like, for example, recently they have a new DLC, and you can kind of, have new Pokemon and new maps and so on. But what's cool about it is that it shows like the stats. Once you complete a game, it shows the stats that how good your Pokemon is. And previously it shows the stats, but doesn't tell you how good it is, which there are ways to figure out. And that was one of the things that people do, is that they will try to catch like crazy amount of the same Pokemon, like probably 100, just to find the perfect stats. And I realized I caught probably 400 Pokemons to finish the game. Wow. And then I only had like 12 like perfect stats. And that just kind of goes to show you how hard. I mean, it's not that hard, but it is hard to find those. And I think that might be something really interesting within the Z mechanic, where you have to spend, for example, I guess one good way is you have to spend the V token, that's for sure, because you need to have that to have a positive token economic. And then, but at the same time, you have to have like more Z that requires user to get them. Like, for example, let's say you play the dungeon, you get an egg. To get that egg, I guess to hatch it, you need to spend V token, and then which you can sell to someone, which they can hatch it themselves, right? And then which should show you the different stats. And in Pokemon, it shows you like 6 main stats that can affect how good your Pokemon is. On top of that, it has the ability, which some Pokemon has like 30 different type of ability, and you can only choose 4 to be in the game. And we kind of see that in Zeeverse as well, where you have 3 ability, which everyone can only use 1 right now.
Yeah.
And then also in some type of Pokemon game, you can also level up those ability to make it stronger. So we've seen some like crazy game within Pokemon where there will be like this attack Pokemon that people play in a way that's a support character, and then it will like kind of like trick other players to think, oh, there's an attack Pokemon coming up. So I guess because when we play Zeeverse, you got to kind of choose a starter Z, which is kind of like the starting Pokemon.
Yeah.
And that's really cool experience. And it has like this fire, water can go against fire goes against like the grass, right?
Yeah, so, it's basically rock, scissors principle. So what we are doing with them is we're treating each Z as a unique strategy, what it can offer for a battle for the player. So each Z has their own unique ability. And whenever you will evolve them, you will be able to unlock like 2 or 3 more. That will depend like from each Z to Z. But one thing we have is in total 12 different classes on the roadmap. So we just started with like fire, water, and grass. But in total, what we're planning to introduce is like total of 12 of them. And the way how we will introduce, I think, is really interesting because we also have somewhere by end of the year upcoming land mint. So whenever we will introduce a new land, like this new region, let's call it like a magic region, when that land will be minted, you will suddenly find these new types of magic Zs walking around. So I think it's kind of like a natural way to combine it with the seasons I mentioned just previously. To whenever we do something, whenever we do some mint, we also introduce a lot of new experience and a lot of new content.
So the current dungeon that we're seeing is not even the end, right? There's going to be other dungeon from other maps that going to show different type of Z that's going against you.
That's like tutorial island.
Okay, so we're on tutorial island right now. Okay, wow, that's quite interesting because all these other game that we see, people will sometimes recognize Zeeverse as a complete game, but really we're only seeing like what do you call 1%?
Yeah, that's wild. That's actually wild because we are looking on that thing as something which is like extremely stripped down of the content and all the features, what's coming up. So we just give players a chance to try it, give some feedback. And for us, it's a really great way to start testing really early so we can like adjust whenever we see some problems or some opportunities. And
you mentioned like there's going to be other like type of Z monster, and will there be like ghosts? Because that's one of the type that I like. Again, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly in English, but in Chinese we call it like 幽灵系. Is basically the ghost type, and a famous one is called 耿鬼, is Genkik, and then I don't know if I say it correctly in English, but it's the ghost type Pokemon.
Yeah. We haven't actually decided on all of those types yet.
Okay.
But we will go with like crazy ones. So the thing is, the ones you have right now, it's just kind of like a base. And everything else, what comes after, it will become just more and more epic in a way. So like the one really hard task for us is to surprise whenever we deliver.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, every time we're delivering, we are pushing that boundary even further. What it means for those types, I think we will end up with something completely out of this world when we will release the 12th one.
Dude, like, I mean, I mean, that's the sauce, man. If you can do this storyline where people can catch it all, you know, that's like what makes Pokemon so great. Like, I actually think Pokemon, there's this game called Pokemon Go, and I think that's the first move to earn. And you don't actually earn anything. You earn your health. That's pretty much all you earn. And Pokemon was able to do that and still make people to spend money for it. Like when Pokemon Go came out, I think back in, what was it, 2014, 2015, I can't remember the dates, but it was the first time where you can walk around all around the world to find Pokemon with your iPhone and catch it. And there's this famous guy in Taiwan, this old guy that's on bicycle, and he has like 50 phones.
I've seen that image.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it just goes to show you how far people will go to catch them all. And it's not like being crazy or anything, but it's that feeling, you know, the collector feeling within all of us. And I think, you know, a lot of the Gen Y, Gen Z kids that are now adults still have that feeling, you know. I was reading this other report about how many Pokemon player are actually adults, you know. Pokemon Violet, the one I just talked about that came out last year, was one of the best selling games. They sold 25 million copy in day one, which has almost never happened to, you know, many other games. And they keep doing this, you know, they have MOBA, all these type, but then it all comes down to one thing is you want them all. Like the MOBA one, I think is the craziest because I spent a lot of money on that. And they're getting more and more expensive. Like if you want this new Pokemon, which you can easily buy the game and catch it, but you cannot play in MOBA, but if you want it, it's $50. Yeah. And then there are like 1 million active player. So that's how much money whenever, and they have thousands of these Pokemon. Every time they make a new Pokemon into the game, people spend money and then they make another 50 mil, 20 mil from it. And there's nothing wrong about it. It's just that they have created that mentality.
Yeah, I still remember like Pokemon Blue as one of the best games from my childhood.
Yeah.
So I think I completed it 3 times because first time I kind of fucked up and I used my Master Ball to catch one of like simple ones. Okay. And then I saw that there is like a Mewtwo at the end and I don't have like that ball anymore. So I had to like...
You only have one.
Yeah, I only had to get one in that version at least. Yeah. And I basically redid the whole game and caught that one. And then I realized there are some others which I missed, so I replayed again. But really interesting you mentioned Pokemon Go, because when it launched, like I was playing on day one like crazy. And one thing which was for me, it was being able to play in real life together with your friends. And the wild thing about how the monetization works is, imagine like you're like, I don't know, walking through the forest, like looking for some special Pokemon with your friends, and suddenly you're out of Pokeballs.
Yeah.
You have 2 options. You purchase more Pokeballs, you go home.
Yeah.
So that's what really works. And when I'm thinking about that concept and applying to that Zeeverse, I think the really exciting part will become when we will introduce PvE co-op mode. So it means that will be a special PvE mode where you can only play together with your friends in real time. And that means all of you have to have like a really good team to at least be on the same level. And if some of your guys don't have like a really good Z, or they're missing some part of the strategy, that will bring in some immense peer pressure for him to go on the secondary market and look for that one. Yeah. Because we're constantly looking for ways to drive the secondary market as well. Because what's the point of like training and playing if there is like no outside demand for that? So it kind of goes into every design decision we make. And there are a lot of them. Yeah.
And you know, coming back to the V token and where you can spend it. You know, you mentioned like you can hatch the egg by spending V, you can level up with it. I guess later you can upgrade with it. But can you buy like in-game assets. What I mean by that is, because when I entered this, so-called tutorial island, I can kind of sort of see different islands around it. And there were sneak peek of where user can buy islands, and I'm thinking like, will there be a chance where, when I earn these V, maybe I don't want to, sell these V token. I want to purchase some stuff in the game as a status. Is that something that would happen in the future?
We'll be constantly adding new utilities for the V. But what's actually really interesting is that the way how the V model operates. If we can like slightly dive deep into that. So the same way we inspired a bit of like Web2 gaming, where they're like artificially creating these problems where players need to pay some money to keep playing. We don't want that. We don't want that part where we artificially create problems so they buy something for us. What we want to do is make a system where they will be always hungry for more V. And the only way for them to buy that V is from other players. And this is what creates this market where top players will be constantly pushing and trying to optimize their experience, and they will always be short of the V. So that's where the market demand comes. And whenever we will introduce those new different items, it will just even more expand utility for V. But yeah, I think it's right now it feels a bit boring because it's fundamentally built around this system, which is like the backbone for whole economy. And then once we see this works like flawlessly, we are just introducing one by one these new utilities where you can go to like a NPC store. You can buy like a fishing rod. So we're actually about to release a fishing in like 1 month or something. So whenever we do introduce new content, it also introduces new utilities.
Got it. And then you briefly talk about the fishing, right? These mini games. And then we saw from the trailer where you can cook the fish, and then are there going to be other mini games? I heard from the community, there were like people suggesting to do like Blackjack and, and like, I guess like Sudoku or chess game. Like, what are some of the mini games that might come out?
Actually, the Blackjack kind of, it's not entirely Blackjack, but it's Blackjackish in a way. So one thing we realized that the interaction and experience in those lobbies, it's quite unique and organic. So we want to like push that even further. So we are looking for various ways what we can do. Like we could introduce things like a mini football where players can like just run around and try to shoot a ball, where we could introduce like you mentioned, Blackjack, where players could come up and like challenge each other for like a really quick duel. And even looking in further, we may even at some point introduce options for creators to create their own mini games within those islands. That's definitely nothing for this year, but our long-term vision is actually built around the creator economy.
Okay.
So if I may deep dive a bit into that, so once we will introduce those lands, each of those lands hold like multiple different resources, and one of the resources they hold is the voxel tokens.
Yeah.
So there are like many different kinds of voxel tokens. So voxel is like a 3D pixel.
Yeah.
And let's say creator comes in and wants to create something like in the sandbox. They want to create like some model or even some complex experience. In Zeeverse, they will need material. So whenever they create something, they actually need that material in a form of tokens, which needs to be consumed for that creation to be brought into Zeeverse. And this is something what makes all the players part of creator economy, because they are the ones which will be mining those voxels out and providing the creators with the material. And I think that's kind of like our way to try to solve the problem of these empty, dead metaverses where creators are creating a bunch of stuff, but nobody there is to play. We kind of start from other way around. We create a really engaging experience, build a player base, and then we just give them tools to create.
Got it. And so that kind of adds in the aspect of create to earn in a sense, right? And lastly, there's a lot of information alpha that's kind of shown in this interview, and I wanted to talk a bit about the Arbitrum collab, right? I know we talk about Treasure DAO and so on, and L2 is definitely something that's really exciting in this space with Optimism, ZK Sync. But then I wanted to touch base on kind of where previously we talked about, all these collab with Treasure DAO and kind of ways to learn about Curve. While there be other islands, that are, similarly to what has done on Curve, where it's on BSC or ZK Sync, because a lot of user right now, one of the easiest way for project to get user is to associate with a layer 2 that has no token, right? You see that in ZK Sync era. When they opened it, the floodgate, everyone went in to try every single project on ZK Sync era. Actually, there were a couple of scam and rug pull happened because everyone just YOLO, because how much, with the Arbitrum airdrop, just by, interacting with it, you get almost $500 worth of token, and some are now worth thousands, right? Yeah. So people are going crazy after. So for a legit game, like Zeeverse, one of the best way to garner these users is to associate with yourself with these layer 2 project that hasn't launched their token, like ZK Sync, Scroll ZKP, and so on. Yeah, that's definitely idea to look into. So starting with that Arbitrum question. So actually the mint, what we have is fully on Arbitrum. So all the soulbound tokens, all the loot pods will be minted directly on Arbitrum 1. But looking on our long-term vision, we see Zeeverse as a multi-chain project. Okay.
So we don't limit ourselves just to one, because there are some benefits to variety of different chains, and then there are some communities on those chains, and we want to offer and build a way to tap into them all. So it's just natural whenever we introduce something, we want to kind of do this in this flashy Fortnite event style way in the Zeeverse. Mm-hmm. So like we did with the Curve. In a Curve, you may look it up on YouTube, but I was actually play to mint live quest where people were running around. That was super unique experience.
It was like an EDC.
Yeah.
In the metaverse.
Exactly. That was, and we ended up with some pretty crazy rave. So that was opening ceremony. So suddenly night came to the Zeeverse, the music started to play, and there were lights being shown.
I missed that. I missed that because I want to have some sort of night, version whenever it's actually, midnight. But every time I go in Zeeverse, it's still morning.
That's true. After we did that, we realized that night is looking so dope that we may introduce the night and day cycle, but we don't want to just throw it out so just randomly. Sometimes there's day, sometimes there's night. Instead, we want to align some activities around that. So let's say if we introduce when we introduce the fishing skill, at nighttime there could be different fishes, what can be called.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So every time there is something introduced, it has to bring more value to the whole project, not just be a single sole feature on its own.
Well, but that's a tiny ass river though. How many fish can you fish? But what can you do with the fish though?
So the fishing is the way how we are introducing consumables, and fishing will enable you to heal your Z's in a battle. There will be also some special fishes coming in at some point. Before you can use them in a battle, you will actually have to cook them. So we want to make that experience even more interesting for that.
Okay.
And then
like a potion.
Yeah, like a potion. Later we will also introduce potions, but while we're still at the fishing, whenever we'll introduce new land, we will introduce new rivers per se, and they will allow you to try to catch like new fishes, even like rarer one, and those will give you better perks in a battle. Some of them will also have different boosts what they can apply to your Z's. So this skill is just essentially giving you way more control over battle, and also it adds way more depth to the battle. And this is what we have been building.
Okay. And I saw like in your video, the one that was really hype, where it goes into the dungeon and there's like this hound with like 3 heads.
Yeah.
And then when they escape, it shows a lot of images of different islands. One with like lava, one from a desert, and one that just looks like from outer space. Are those, when can we expect, some of these new maps?
Oh, yeah. So this is something what we have been aiming for end of the year. That takes a lot of time to do it like properly. Mm-hmm. So we just wanted to like tease and show a bit bigger vision, because you may get like wrong impression. You enter that tutorial island and you think, okay, that's it. But actually, that's kind of like, in terms of like plot size, what you can explore, that's probably one part of like 50,000 plots. Mm. So the land will be huge. The world will be huge. And we will introduce those things just gradually, one by one. But yeah, in video, they look pretty dope. And we just wanted to tease the whole thing in some way.
And let's talk stats. What's the current, you mentioned 7.5 mil V token deposit that were purchased from DEX. And then what's the current DAU?
Yeah, so it's hovering around 2,000 at the moment.
Okay.
So
because I go in and I see people every day, and then it sucks that we're on this tutorial island where we're just like all these shaman just standing there.
Like on average, like engagement is like through the roof.
Okay.
We see like average players spending 61 minutes per day every day.
Okay.
So that's on a really high side. And what it gives, it means that players who are really engaged are really keen to progress. And that just pushes like the deposits for the V token. Mm-hmm. And I think the moment we will bridge and have some liquidity on Arbitrum for the V token, that number will just explode, because right now the fees are really high. So
only the whale can really buy. Yeah. Well, not even the whale, just guys that can afford $10 transaction.
Yeah. I think it's a bit more than $10 at the moment, but yeah, it's not very cheap. So whenever you want like deposit $10 worth of V token just to get some advantage in the game, like you're not willing to pay that fee. And for that, we need layer 2.
Layer 2 will be a lot cheaper. Okay. That's about it. So you said that there could be some gift that we give out. So what are you thinking?
Oh yeah, totally. So we have like this OG collection of 3,333 masks.
They're going like quite expensive now.
We have been like kind of breaking the
all-time high.
Not high. I wouldn't like call it all-time high. I think we are at all-time high at the moment, but our graphic looks completely other way around than most of their projects. We started like really, really low, and we've been like climbing up all the time. So right now we're sitting at some 0.09. So these masks are part of upcoming staking system, which will be like live shortly in coming days, in coming week. And also, they will give you like a bunch of different benefits, and I think we could like give away some 3 of them.
Okay, 3?
Yeah, I think we can give 3.
Let me just say that in Chinese. So, 我们今天的影片会有抽奖，然后呢会抽这个 mask 的奖。那 I guess like the usual, right? Follow Twitter, join Discord, play the game. I guess 就是你要 订阅他们推特，然后呢玩他的游戏，然后呢记得要这个我们有做一个 Zeeverse 的中文社区 join the Zeeverse Chinese community, you know, 然后呢，就我们会把这个贴在介绍栏里面，那这样就有机会呢可以获得。那 Zeeverse 的 mass 呢，现在是大约是 0.087、0.09 以太一个，然后他们要送出3个，所以大约是4-5千台币的奖品。大家如果想要抽这个的话呢，记得要参加这次的活动。Okay, and then you say the staking part, yeah, there's going to be some perks. Because I remember if you hold a mask, you like the perks is way better than not holding mask.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. So at the beginning when we started, the masks were the way how we gateway the economy. So you could only earn an EV token in a game if you hold a mask. So obviously we are moving away from that with the soulbound mint. Mm-hmm. So each mask will give 1 free soulbound mint. So you may grab a mask now to get that mint for free.
What if you have 10 masks?
Then you will get additional ones, but for loot pods.
Okay.
So you will be able to mint like 1 soulbound, and you will get like additional 9 loot pods.
Okay.
And another thing is we treat those OG holders as a OG. So we're looking on them as a core community. So one of the most important parts for the staking program is the upcoming Z token airdrop. Mm-hmm. So when we will be launching, there will be an airdrop, and the way how people can get into that airdrop is by staking their Z masks. So that will be distributed on like pro rata pool, pro rata rate for all across all stakers. So we will share more detail about that, but that's one of the most valuable long-term benefits besides just looking cool. And
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That's about it. Anything else you want to share with the community?
Like set your reminders for April 25.
All right, guys. 4月25号他们的这个 minting 要开始了，所以就像 Edgar 刚刚讲的一样，会有一些特别的活动，然后会有这个灵魂绑定的 NFT Soulbound NFT， 所以呢，大家记得要去关注，然后你必须要有这个面具哦，所以这一次只要看我们的影片有参加活动的话，就有机会获得一个面具，那总共我们会抽出3个人3个面具。好，那我们今天直播就到这了。记得加密货币投资非常高风险的一件事情，如果你不懂的话，就绝对不要碰。今天讲的不是任何的金融建议。Cryptocurrency investment is really high risk, so if you don't understand it, please don't touch anything said today. It's not a financial advice. Thank you, Edgar.
Thank you.
All right. 然后，如果你今天在 YouTube 上看的话，请帮我订阅，然后把小铃铛点开，你就不会错过下一则。如果你觉得今天直播你有学到新的东西，也帮我把影片给分享出去。区块现在的每日直播是每周一、每周三、每周五呢都会讲最新的区块链新闻，然后各种加密货币跟去中心化金融 DeFi。我们明天见，拜拜。